What's the fastest you've seen a crowd go from excited to horrified? During a Buffalo Sabres game, Clint Malarkuk took an ice skate to the necklink. YouTube.com/watch V=dr-WA4SMBO4, severing his carotid artery and partially cutting his jugular vein. He almost bled out on the ice. The sight was so horrifying 2 fans had heart attacks and 11 others fainted. Numerous fans vomited at the sight of all the blood. Malarkuk thought he was going to die on the ice, so his only thought was getting off the ice, so his mom didn't have to watch him die on TV. He asked for a priest and had the equipment manager call his mom to tell her he loved her. The only reason he didn't die is a Sabres athletic trainer was a combat medic in Vietnam. My parents were at the game and said that most of the fans bottomed the worst and that seeing the ice turn red was one of the more horrifying things they'd seen in person. I was at a Russell Peters stand-up show in a large theater. He starts some banter with the guy in the first row, who had a huge tattoo on his arm saying Skylar, or similar name. He asks all about Skylar. It's the guy's daughter. He starts making jokes about daughters, some sexual innuendos etc. and then asks how old Skylar is. The guy in the audience goes, "She butted away." It was pure crickets after that. Budweiser's press conference that turned into a filmed suicide. We had a local TV anchor in Florida named Christine Chubbuck say, in keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, you are going to see another first and attempted suicide and shoot herself in the head. Circa 1974. The footage never got out, so it's not well known. I saw the movie about her. Did viewers literally witness it live? I was at a 4th of July fireworks show in Fort Walton, Destin, Florida. The show was being staged from the inlet from the Gulf of Mexico to the bay. People were watching it from the other side of the inlet, the Highway 98 bridge, and from their boats on the water. The first salvo launched, but one of the shells exploded either in the launch tube or just above and ignited the rest of the show on the ground. Some launched a little bit before exploding. What was supposed to be a 30 to 40 minute show lasted 1 to 2 minutes. As the first shells blew up, I could see the silhouette of the technicians as they ran, like a stop motion movie. The technicians were cool as hell, since none of them were looking back at the explosions. I never realized how big the bursts were until I saw them going off on the ground. Everybody was trying to get away. We were being hit by pieces of fireworks. They weren't just landing on everybody, they were hitting us. My dad started the boat, but realized we couldn't move. A lot of kids were watching the show while they floated in the water. We were yelling at the other boats to stop because of the kids in the water. Fortunately, enough people heard/listened or realized what the problem now was that they stopped and locked everybody in place. Nobody was seriously hurt or killed, only a few techs were treated for minor burns. On that day, those techs outran Usain Bolt on the beach, wearing safety gear. The technicians were cool as hell, since none of them were looking back at the explosions. I just about lost it here. You have a way with making a disaster story funny. I'm a fireworks technician. If you see me running, try to keep up. I was at a Bo Burnham show he was recording for his Netflix special, but unfortunately this part didn't make the cut. He was cracking jokes as usual, then asked everyone in the audience to crack their knuckles on the count of 3. It was the most horrifying evil sound any of us had ever heard. Duck, that gave me a good belly laugh. Wish it had made the final cut. An American comedian in the Republic of Ireland saying how happy he was to be in the United Kingdom. Similarly, a Canadian band hollering "We love England" at the beginning of their set in Glasgow. Yikes. Woodstock 99. Everyone was super cool and chill, and all of a sudden it felt like the wind shifted. It was palpable. Like you could cut the air, it was so heavy. Got a super bad vibe, so we packed up immediately and left. By the time we got to the first gas station, reports of fire and rioting started. I wonder why we get those feelings like that. Like we get feelings where we can tell something is wrong or something bad's gonna happen. Human brains are insanely good pattern recognizers. So good that we can recognize and take cues from things we don't consciously perceive. I was brought to corridor once, and the matador got his leg impaled by the bull while he was trying to get over a fence. The crowd started screaming and booing the bull like it was a foul move. I was like, Mayo, the Jew ducking stabbed it. What was it supposed to do? Recite poetry? Last week at a BLM protest they were letting anyone come up and speak through a megaphone. This man got up and started talking about his newborn son and how he wanted to make sure we have a better world for him. He then started talking about love and unity, and the guy essentially had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. Then he brought up Bill Cosby and how he was arrested on allegations, and the crowd turned instantly. I remember watching a Twitter video Snoop Dogg posted where he defended Bill Cosby's innocence and talked it up as some type of racist conspiracy. I've sorta soured on the guy since then. Didn't help that he also referred to Gayle King as a doghead *TCH in the same video. Went to see the Pokemon movie with my fellow group home residents as a treat. There were maybe 70 of us there. Most had never been to a movie theater before, so it was a pretty big deal. The house even splurged to get everyone a small soda, candy, and a portion of popcorn. This was literally the best day of most of our lives so far. We get settled in, taking up most of the theater. When the credits started and the lights dimmed, we were so excited. Pokemon, the movie, was about to freaking start. Opening ads start. We are silent the whole time in anticipation. Then the credits never ended. We thought, because this one ad seemed to go on forever, some kind of a spoof of an alien movie, maybe a play on Star Trek. Credits rolled. Lights turned on. Nobody spoke. Every single face was deflated and so freaking disappointed. Someone screwed up and played Galaxy Quest instead of the brand new at the time Pokemon movie. Nobody talked the whole way back to the house. But as soon as we got there, so many kids lost it. I didn't end up seeing it until like 10 years later, and it blew my mind. Haha. You guys watched a whole other wrong movie at the theater? Yeah. It was one of those almost outdated theaters in our town that used to show old movies. Sometimes they'd be B&W films from the 30s, 40s. Other times it would be films that released the last few years but weren't really popular, etc. But during the summer they would show kids movies to encourage them to stay off the streets. Each ticket was only like $2.50 on Wednesdays. But a lot of the other kids in our home had never really been able to go before. I'm sure it was a screw up in the projector room. Nobody really complained because we didn't understand what had happened until it was over. We genuinely assumed that was it until we went home and the teens explained there had to have been a mistake. The house managers never said anything to us. Haha. Several years back, and my band opens up for a hardcore punk outfit from Illinois at an all-ages venue where they have a sci-fi theme to their show. The singer dresses up as a mad scientist and the other 3 members dress up as his evil robots. They also have old television sets plugged in around the stage playing 1950s B horror movies while they play. No one, including the people running the venue, have ever seen these guys play before, but going off of the theme we are expecting something awesome. That is until I'm backstage putting my equipment away and notice them all pounding back shots of tequila. When it's their turn to play they are so hammered they can't even make it through one verse of a song. The singer ended up drop kicking one of the TVs into the crowd of about 200 people, which caught fire. This caused the sound guy to end their set right there, and they were banned from the venue for life. I've never seen a crowd go from happy to oh shut so fast. One of my buddies saw the Stooges in the 1970s. The band started the show playing raw power with no vocals for about 10 straight minutes. Then Iggy finally stumbled out. He made it through about 3 songs before he just fell the duck over. And that was it. The show was done. That would be 73. Really close to them breaking up. The podcast No Dogs in Space did a fantastic series on the Stooges. Detroit Tigers almost perfect game. We all saw the play and the dude was out. We all start celebrating. Then we slowly realized the ump called him safe. Celebration quickly turned to the opposite. Technically not horrified, but still the fastest 180 I've seen or been a part of. Detroit sports and officials turning a moment of elation into a moment of sadness in an instant. Name a more iconic duo. What do Detroit fans fear? JJ Watt? Jair Alexander? Patrick Mahomes? No. The goddamn referees. The entire Buttonbelt students from the elementary school where teacher/astronaut Krista McAuliffe taught at, who were broadcast, live to the world, as they watched the Space Shuttle Challenge explode seconds after takeoff, killing all hands on board, including their teacher. Oh yeah, we had an all-school Buttonbelt to watch it, on a tiny TV up on the auditorium stage of course. I was in 3rd grade. We barely understood what was going on. The most unnerving thing was watching our teachers weeping quietly and trying to look strong for us. I was also in 3rd grade, but on West Coast, so I woke up to my mom crying in front of the TV. There was a guy performing risky stunt dives in a river for money. He pulled off great stuff and people were clapping and clearly hyped. One of the tricks went really bad, and he crashed headfirst into a rock from a decent height and killed himself. I always remember what Panjulit said at the end of his male gun routine. It was like, we find it morally wrong to put someone in real danger for entertainment. And I have to agree. They think it's immoral to make the audience complicit in danger. Basically you're paying to see a magic show, not a medical emergency, so there shouldn't realistically be that possibility on the docket. I was at a Van Halen concert a few years back, and David Lee Roth comes on the mic and says this next one is from our new album. I was at a Rolling Stones concert about 15 years ago. As soon as Mick said that Keith was going to do a song, everybody suddenly had to go to the bathroom. That's too bad. Happy you got the Silver and Salt of the Earth are solid songs. A friend of mine decided it would be fun to try and see if he could smash a beer glass on his head. Up until then he was just being an enthusiastic drunk and had some positive attention. He then decided the beer butt thing was a good idea and promptly executed it. Head wounds bleed a lot in the first minute. Crowd win for more. Your cute Fuwaki's gonna die. I sobered up in an instant and got a semi-clean towel for him to stop the bleeding. Thankfully head wounds also stop bleeding pretty quick in most instances. Drunk ideas are almost never good ideas, especially the morning after when you wake up next to a bad idea. Monday Night Football, November 18th, 1985. Washington Redskins vs. the New York Giants. I was pretty young at the time, so being allowed to stay up late on a weekday was a rare occasion. During one of the plays, Joe Theismann was sacked by Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson of the Giants. The entire stadium went silent as Theismann would end up suffering a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. What I remember most vividly is that the broadcast kept replaying it over and over again, and seeing Shin snap at a 90-degree angle. It made me physically nauseous and had to walk out of the room. If I recall correctly, following the injury, broadcasting policies were changed so that constant replays like this would not be shown in the future. Edit. Surprised to see how memorable this was for others as well. As a budding Redskins fan at the time, I gained a huge amount of respect for Lawrence Taylor that day. I understand that injuries are a part of all sports. It's a level of risk that many are willing to take. It was a need to keep replaying it over and over again from every imaginable angle that made the impression. Thank you all for sharing your similar experiences. Seeing Alex Smith's leg injury relive was just as bad. I literally screamed in horror when that happened. Proof we live in the Matrix. Joe Theismann broke his right tibia and fibula on November 18, 1985 in a game in Washington that ended 23-21. The only 3-time Defensive Player of the Year Lawrence Taylor was involved in the injury, which occurred around the 40-yard line. Theismann's Pro Bowl left tackle, Joe Jacoby, wasn't on the field due to injury. Alex Smith broke his right tibia and fibula on November 18, 2018 in a game in Washington that ended 23-21. The only other 3-time Defensive Player of the Year J. Watt was involved in the injury, which occurred around the 40-yard line. Smith's Pro Bowl left tackle, Trent Williams, wasn't on the field due to injury. At my friend's wedding the groom kicked the flower boy. He was no more than 10. So yeah. On purpose? Yes, it was terrible. I didn't exactly see it happen though. Just heard a collective gasp from the crowd and the boy on the ground. There was a moment silence and all hell broke loose. Didn't even get to finish me damn plate. When working on a kids show, a child goes missing within the first 15 minutes of the show starting. Show had an emergency stop so the parents could plead for the child to make himself known. Nobody was allowed to leave their seats or leave the building. Whole building had to be searched. Everyone but whom the worse, but after half an hour they resumed the show, even though the kid still had not been found. 10 minutes later we got word that the kid had wandered out of the building and was found safe and sound around the corner. To make matters worse, the show was Rapunzel. You know, where the story centers around a kidnapped child. Rapunzel. You know, where the story centers around a kidnapped child. Hey now. They made a fair trade. WWE's Over the Edge 1999. Owen Hart fell 70 feet to his death during the event, and the company inexplicably continued on with the show after he'd been taken to a hospital. That's kind of ducked up. Diablo Immortal announcement. I mean, don't you guys own phones? 7 to 8 years ago during a concert there was an earthquake. Not too huge, but enough for some speakers to fall and to scare the shut out of those attending. At a music festival, Bluesfest, in my city, Ottawa, we had a stage collapse in a windstorm a few years back. Edit. It was actually 9 years ago. The band playing at the time was Cheap Trick, and they sued the festival and the stage company. Edited. Some details. I was at the infamous 2007 Cleveland Warped Tour. But if storm came through and demolished everything. A guy from one of the bands we'd seen before the storm ended up rushed to the hospital. A tent had come out of the ground, and one of the stakes stabbed him in the face. I also remember watching one of the heavy doors get ripped off of the Tower City building by the wind. Challenger launch. This is a good one, because the eyes of the whole country witnessed this. According to the wiki article, 17% of all Americans watched it happen live. And a study reported that 85% of Americans had heard the news within 1 hour of the explosion, in an age before cell phones/internet. So many school children were watching to celebrate Macaulay's journey to space, only to be stunned in silence. My second grade but didn't really know what the hell had happened. The teacher pushed us all out to recess, I believe. I don't know if this counts, but I'm a huge fan of 90s rock. Slipknot, Seether, Mushroom Head, etc. Anyways, I've always wanted to see Marilyn Manson in concert, and he was opening for I think one of the mentioned bands above a few years back. Anyways, he comes on and just looked horrible, kind of slurring, but whatever, I get it. So like 4 songs in he starts singing Beautiful People and mostly everyone seemed into it. Well, maybe BC it's TX, and it was an outdoor venue over 100 degrees, but he just goes, "Duck it, you'll suck," and walks off stage. Took a few seconds to register with everyone he wasn't joking, and every starts booing and cussing. I was legit excited and it just turned to garbage so quick. Edit. Thanks for the guild. Funny enough, I had a similar experience with Manson at a festival. He slurred his way through about 2 songs, while falling all over the stage, before he just wandered off and never came back. As it was a festival, we had another act to go, so people weren't too upset, but it was very strange. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. You are helping me a lot. Thanks again.